Hello, good morning. Sharing some words of wisdom. Will the psychic time, be decomposed after the person's death? It's a weird question. Time does not exist. What kind of things is going to be decomposed? In order for you to decompose or to see something being decomposed after being physic, it's a physical one. Then, because of some factors that have to do with the weather or any other factors, they in affect that body to be decomposed or disintegrated. But will the time be the same thing after the person's death? Well, it's not the time that will be decomposed. Other things, as will be mentioned in details shortly. And by the way, between brackets, I don't mean decomposed in a sense of breaking down these chronological or like quantified times, such as, for instance, you say the year is broken down into 12 months, and then a month, we have 4 or 5 weeks, and then a week, 7 days, and then 24 hours. No, I don't mean that. No, not at all. No, I mean, and I referred it precisely to the psyche, because the outside time, which is the objective time, January, December, decade, century, millennium, human being doesn't have any control over this. He has control over his own psychic time, if he has the presence of mind. As an automaton, you cannot attribute time to an automaton who is behaving without conscious awareness. It's like in a comatose state. Getting back to the question, is the time decomposed? It's not the time that will be decomposed. God knows best. Sharing some ideas, huh? What was accomplished in the time that has a tendency, I don't say all the time, a tendency to be decomposed, to be disintegrated. Human being is collecting consciousness, collecting time in this world that we call consciousness, if he is conscious. If he's not, then you cannot, as I said, behaving automatically, behaving without conscious awareness. There is no time here. He is with a certain rhythm, cadence that you attribute it to the systematism. You can attribute it to, the routine where there is a big lapse in his brain, in his mind, I mean. Assuming that this person has a presence of mind, he is collecting consciousness. Consciousness, that means he's collecting time. It's not the time, there is an event. What is an event? This is a whole movie collected, developed, that we call an emotion. Every moment. Consciousness was meant in the primordial time. Was it attributed to the person in such a way to be exposed only to the oneness of God? Because a human being has his uniqueness. Because God created him in such a way to absorb only from the oneness of God. To absorb what? To absorb nothing. To live. God created him eternal. Because the soul of God is eternal. So you can tell that the human being, he's making an effort to make himself like a temple. That's weird, strange, because of our, ignorance. And the God described human being as an ignorant, without exception. So, in one verse, he said, Al-amana, he said, Inna aradna al-amanata ala al-samawati wal-ardi wal-jibal, فأبين أن يحملنها وحملها الإنسان إنه كان ظلوما جهولا. Al-amana, trust, trustfulness, something confidential to human being. God had exposed this to heaven, earth, and the mountains. He's showing you with all this power, they refused to take it, not refusing because they disobeyed God, but they were scared. Human being, he took it. He is ظَلُومًا جَهُولًا. He said God described him like this. How can that be? Because الظلم هذا ظلوم, the word is taken from dark. الظلام, darkness. Obscure, we can't see. But when you say obscurantism, here I have a role. The darkness I get into a room was obscure, was I couldn't situation, or a situation is obscure, I don't know what's going on in the abstract world. I entered the room was dark. This is a physical world. But when you speak about an obscurantism, there is a role of a human being that he wants to live in that kind of obscurity. He doesn't want to know reality. That not only this, the word in Arabic, dhaloom, these kind of repercussions are not on himself only, it's on otherness. How can that be? God described him like this? Because this is the amana, he was meant to live the time, the eternity that is inside him. So by the time he escaped from the oneness of God, he thought he can be independent with self-sufficiency. He felt the temporal, that's the jahiliyyah. That's the jahul. And then the repercussions or the consequences were against others. He thought probably he can do. Then here you see the manifestation of hostility. Are there exceptions? He is exception only if he is under the oneness of God. Here you cannot. You say, you can, like which is the case of the prophets or the friends of God, awliya Allah. They realize that existence is only through the mind exposed to the oneness of God. Getting back, like you say, when the Greeks, they speak about anima, animism, animatism, they speak about, they say, there is a soul in nature. There is consciousness in nature. Consciousness, a soul, what is it? Actually, that's right. The only thing is they deify nature, which is, they say, God of the water, the oceans, the God of the, Poseidon, Jupiter, Athena, etc. They deify nature. They realize there is a soul, but here we're getting back to human being. The soul, you cannot speak about the soul is the life. But the life is existing because of the presence of consciousness. Now, if you want to escape, human being wants to see this consciousness other than the creator, that's an absence. Getting back to the decomposition of the time. The event. What is the event? The event is collected in this world as an emotion. Human being right now, he is working inside his brain and storing and archiving and encoding memories, emotions, etc. Conscience, getting back, oh God, I keep repeating these words. Consciousness and consciously was meant to percolate the time solely from God. La conscience elle-même, it was to percolate, to filter. There is only God consciousness that will penetrate, integrate human's existence in the brain, call it whatever you want, is itself. The human being role is, the role of this human being is to allow it and to make sure not to associate others, or say shirk, with the Creator. That's how eternity remains. Now, what will be decomposed after he leaves this world? What was done, accomplished, other than the oneness of God, for the sake of otherness. I'm going to say, is it possible to stay 24 hours, 7 days a week in there? No. We don't mean that. Everybody, everybody's power, psychic power, enthusiasm to be able to have this presence of mind. That's why you have, in these 24 hours, you have the prayers. The prayer, you recuperate the segment, the lapse that was between the segment of time of absence. You recuperate. You are here to recuperate and to give an extension to the next one. These 5 prayers, not to be in the vortex of the Milky Way, to escape the Milky Way, to be above them. You are seeking eternity, getting back to the time, what was accomplished, developed. For the sake of Jupiter, when the soul, and nafsul mutma'inna, as we're going to explain it, it's go back to the Creator. Everything will be that was for the sake of other than God, it will be absorbed by that kind of something from the universe. I try to give this example. Look at here. Do you see how these air bubbles? You see them, you touch them, they don't exist. That's an emotion inside the brain, inside the person's mind. This is an extrinsic. Yes, yet all the events are there. They will be with the Jupiter, disintegrated with the audience that was worshipped or done for the sake of it. It disintegrated with it. There is only what was percolated, that's the word, for the sake of God, that remains intrinsically without a form, that will reach the Creator. Thank you for your attention, and I see you soon.